Hello all, this is JC3 from Is This Real? Do you want to start your own podcast? Then look no further than Buzzsprout.com. We here at Green Hour Media use Buzzsprout, and we love the team at Buzzsprout. They are all about helping you succeed. Buzzsprout gets your show listed in every major podcast platform. Follow the link in our show notes to let Buzzsprout know that we sent you. It gets you a $20 paid Amazon gift card if you sign up with a paid plan and helps support our show. Join us and over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout.com to get your message out to the world.
From the Keith Vincent Carroll Studios in Paterson, New Jersey, Green Hour Media proudly presents Is This Real? Tonight, we're going to discuss the Overtoun Bridge in Scotland. Why are so many dogs taking their own lives? And now, your host, JC3.
Welcome, everybody, to another fantastic episode of Is This Real? And on this week's episode, just like his dad said at the beginning, we're talking about the Overtoun Bridge in Scotland, where they subsequently call it the dog suicide bridge. And we're going to figure out why that is today. On today's episode, it's a short episode, and it's going to be a small booth. Me, JC3, and we have Big Joe, and say hello. Big Joe.
Hello, Big Joe. What's up?
And the only other person we have in the booth today with us is making, I believe, his first Is His Real appearance since we've become a thing. He used to have his own show called Keeping It Real with Bubba. It's Bubba himself. Bub, what's up, Unc?
How you doing?
His first Is This Real show, and he's talking about dog suicide. How do you feel about that, Unc?
All right.
Oh, okay. So, the Overtoun Bridge in Scotland. Dad, what do you have for me?
Well, basically, I have a bridge here that was, it's an extension of a driveway from the Overtoun house. It was owned by a man by Mr., I believe his name is John White. It's said the house is said to be haunted by his grieving widow, the lady in white of Overtoun. And theories range that this woman didn't like dogs too much and torments any dogs that go on that bridge and causing them to jump off and commit suicide. A lot of people say they take their dog across this bridge and they watch the dog as it actually, you can just see something strange behavior all of a sudden, then the dog does a swanny off the bridge. However, it's really surreal sometimes because they're actually saying that the dog will jump off the bridge and if it survives, comes back up and does it again. So there's something luring these animals off that bridge, and it's not happening. I mean, some reports are there's 8,000. It's not. The most it could be is between 300 to 600 dogs, which is a lot of dogs. Don't get me wrong, but you still got to put into perspective. This is from 1859. This bridge was built, and like I said, the house that's there is beautiful. It's a beautiful castle, but it's said to be haunted by this lady. The widow of John White. Who knows?
I'm reading this one article right here, and I don't like the term they're using.
What's the term?
It says some reports set the number of flying fur balls in the hundreds. I don't like that term.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
That's not funny. Flying fur, but that says some dogs have survived. Terrible injuries. Some perished soon after the plunges. One dog allegedly jumped off the bridge, survived, ran up the slope, and then jumped off again, like you said.
Dog was determined.
Yeah, he's... So, I don't know. There's a couple of theories that they have. I know this one, in Scotland, they did a documentary about it. And the person who did it, his name is David Sands. He's an animal behaviorist, and he visited the bridge and concluded that dogs certainly weren't killing themselves on purpose. He figured that since most of the dogs that jump off the jump are long-nosed types with especially keen odor tracking skills, wild animals' scent may be a trigger. He says the dogs can smell or see wild creatures scurrying below the bridge, and maybe the bridge's construction, which has tapered edges, might make it look safe, flat, plain from a dog's point of view, and also contributes to the confusion. So basically, what he's saying is, dogs can smell, and they have a high sense of smell, and they're jumping off the bridge and looking at animals because their point of view, it's flat. It's not a bridge. It's flat surface.
And don't forget, animals. I know that dogs, especially, they don't. I mean, they have the two eyes and everything, but they have no depth perception.
Yeah.
So that could be, they think it's 3 feet in front of them, but it's a 50-foot drop.
Well, yeah, what I also like is that they, as far as, because we know, as far in the paranormal field, that dogs and small children have a keen sense to the paranormal.
Correct.
And this could be one of those things, because if you see, there's a lot of things, even on TikTok, you see these videos of cats, dogs, and babies just staring into the corner.
Right.
And I've seen a lot of TikToks of dogs growling at an empty doorway.
Yep.
And there's nothing there. Like people like mittens. There's nothing here. What are you growling at? And what I could believe the whole ghost story, especially if the ghost is haunted by the wife, and she didn't like dogs.
Right.
I can believe that.
You think the dog sees the wife?
Well, not that the dog sees the wife, because obviously they're jumping when they're going towards the house. And what could be happening is the dog senses that there's an evil spirit there, and the dog says, "Fuck this shit, I'm out."
Does anybody know what kind of shrubs are around this bridge? Like plants?
Well, they have done. What happened was the guy, when Mr. White's father, who owned the house initially, when he passed, the son went out and got a horticulturist to come in and design these gardens around the entire perimeter, and actually built the bridge to make it all flow and have a nice, flow with the castle and everything. So, I don't know per se what is there, but they do say that the dogs are smelling mink from, the animal mink in the area.
What the hell's mink?
Mink is mink coat. It's
not like a cat.
It's an animal.
It's an animal. It's I think it's part of the rat family. It's like a squirrel on steroids. I don't know. I haven't done my
squirrel on steroids.
A ferret. Yeah, something like that. I mean, I
thought a mink was a cat.
No. So they could be smelling the urine. However, you had a hunter that was in the area. He said, for 50 years he's not smelled any mink urine in the area. And yet these animals are, jumping off the bridge. So, again, we just don't know. But I tend to lean towards the paranormal myself in a situation like this, only because, number one, it's fun. That's number one. Number two, I think that if this woman is there and she really didn't like animals, and somehow she doesn't want the animals on their property or anywhere near or the dogs, that she's... And, they do say that there was reports that they do see this woman walking, around the property.
I've read reports about that, too.
Okay, so it could be that maybe, her energy is not allowing these dogs anywhere near it.
How high is this bridge that they actually survived the fall?
50 foot.
50 foot? Is there water underneath it, or is this...
I don't know. I know there's a ravine.
From the pictures I've seen, it doesn't look like there is water, no.
Right.
I mean, it just... I don't know.
No, it's plant life underneath.
Doesn't make it. Something ain't right.
Well, here's the picture right here. It's all rocks. That's what it looks like.
And they survived that fall.
Some do, but then they get back on the bridge and they kill themselves again. They jump off again. So, what is? There's something that's forcing these.
I have a story here by a person named Lottie McKinnon. She recalled one terrifying day 3 years ago when something overcame her dog Bonnie as soon as they approached the bridge. At first, Bonnie froze, but then she became possessed by some strange energy and ran and jumped right off the parapet. After 11 years of research, this is from local ghost expert Paul Owens, who published a book about the phenomenon. After 11 years of research, I'm convinced that the ghost that is behind all of this, and of course, he's talking about the lady in white. Her ghost was lurking around ever since she passed away, and yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of sightings of the lady in white of Overtoun.
You think she could be at the bottom of the bridge, and coaxing these dogs to jump?
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hey, Ryan. Hi, this is Sarah Palin.
Ryan, Donald Trump Jr.
Harsh to win seal. Hey, everybody, I want y'all to check out a fellow Marines podcast.
My name is Ted Nugent, and I got a call from my buddy Ryan F. Samuels, and he wants me to tell you that he's a working hard, playing all-American son of a who is celebrating God, family, country.
Welcome to the Ryan Samuels Show, one of the top political podcasts in the United States, where we have a healthy distrust for government and mainstream media. The Ryan Samuels Show is a raw, unfiltered look at American politics.
Well, I don't know about... Yes, that could be a possibility. I've never... at least doing the research, from the little research I've done, I didn't research anybody actually saying that they saw any type of ghosts at the bottom of the bridge.
Yeah.
They, like I said, most of the stories that I've heard, while leading up to the house and to the bridge itself, the no dogs can get near the house. There's been they said a lot of problem with dogs being afraid and backing up on their leashes of going towards the house
There's something
itself.
that's scaring them. There's definitely.
But my question is, if you're a dog owner and you know this, and you're a dog owner in Scotland, are you bringing your dog there without a leash?
No, not at all.
No, like you have to be sit there. Oh, I don't believe in ghosts, and then your dog jumps off a fucking bridge.
Right. There's a little article here. It says, in response to the multiple dog deaths, numerous animal psychologists were called upon to try and get to the bottom of this. Canine psychologist, Dr. When they tell you he's a canine psychologist right there, I got to start. Come on.
I don't understand.
Well, those are a real thing.
Yeah, they might call themselves,
It's like a dog whisperer.
Joe, and I'm a petroleum transfer engineer. I work at a gas station. I mean, it's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? It just, to me, you're a psychic for dogs. I don't know. It's a little skeptical for me to say that. I know the dog can tell you what's going on. Why can't the dog just put his head on his hip and say, you know what, I want fucking dinner, or I want to go out and take me out, or better yet, you know what, let me jump on the toilet and do it myself.
I mean, it's the same thing with sitting there. The skeptics with ghosts. Like, why can't the ghost just tell you himself? You know what I mean? Why does he need a psychic to tell?
Yeah, I guess it comes in the same thing. I guess.
See, this psychic thing with the dogs and the dogs talking and all that too, whatever. I just think it's something that the dogs smell that's drawing them just because they just want to smell it and they jump. You know what I mean? Just to chase it.
Maybe it's true. Maybe here, and to your point, Kevin, David Sands explains all avenues, sight, smell, and sound factors, and concluded that a pungent odor emitted from mice, squirrels, and mink in the bushes below could explain the madness. An experiment conducted in a field showed that 8 out of 10 dogs went straight for the scents found around the bridge, especially the male mink urine. So your theory might be the one that, I guess more tests are going to have to be done as we go along if people care enough to do it. Then it goes forward. It goes, however, a local hunter in the area has insisted that he hasn't so much as seen a trace of mink in this entire 50 years in the vicinity.
Well, yeah, you would have to sit there and see what animals are in the area.
Right.
If you don't see there's mink in the area, then how is there mink piss in the area?
Now, a guy through his... there's another theory here, suggests that the bridge, along with Overtoun House, is haunted and that a ghost is tormenting the dogs. In 1994, a man killed his 2-week-old baby by throwing him off the bridge, insisting that it was a reincarnation of the devil.
Oh, my God.
Before attempting to commit suicide and jump himself.
Oh, boy.
No one knows. No one truly knows what is going on here. Without more scientific research, this is just going to keep going.
Well,
the speculation is going to be out
Well,
there.
if that's the case, and that's sacrifice. But we'll get more into that when we come back from break, so we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Anthony from Multimedia Mafia. If you love what we do and you want to know more about us, head on over to greenarrowmedia.org. On there, you're going to find links to both Multimedia Mafia show and our sister show, Is This Real?, which is all about conspiracies and aliens and all sorts of wonderful stuff like that. If you want to support us, head on over to our merch page where you can buy a hat or a mug. We have lots of different designs and cool colors. If you want to meet us, we got pictures up there. We have a little biography, and you can even stream the show right through the website. And hey, don't forget to check out our YouTube link where you can check out all the filming that we do right on our YouTube page. Check us out, greenarrowmedia.org.
Hello, hola, konnichiwa. I have a very important question for you. Is this real? That's the motto of our weekly podcast. We question everything from the paranormal to conspiracies, even the extraterrestrials. There's no topic we won't dive into. So tune in and listen to our show every Sunday at 8 p.m. And remember, folks, question everything.
And we are back. Sure, the Overtoun House. This is going to be a short episode here, gentlemen, because there's not a lot. I mean, obviously, there's not a lot of other theories to go off of whether what it is or not. I mean,
yeah, I know. It's one of those things that, you know what, that's what we do here. We cover this kind of stuff, but you know, it's for our listeners to let them start to think about stuff like this. You know, what are your theories? What are you guys coming up with? Something like
well,
this?
Well, no, I like I said,
it has to be done.
I've been going through TikTok a lot, and you know, and I've had a couple people say, you know, we're going to listen and stuff like that. By the way, you know, shout out to the two people, Joshua and Garrett, really cool guys. Excuse me. What basically they're saying is, and what I've heard from other people is that the topics we talk about, you know, especially not the non-big topics. Right. People are like, well, I've never heard that before, and I've never listened or, you know, thought about something like that, and people are saying like, oh, you know, that's something to think about, and whether, you know, just something to listen and think about, and you know, we're also stupidly funny, so.
And there's no shortage of it either. I mean, literally sitting at you know, watching television last night, I learned about the Nevada Triangle, which is basically, it's a Nevada Sierra and Sierra Mountains, and it's the same thing as the Bermuda Triangle, only over sand.
Yeah. So, see, what I love about what we do also is that, especially like we don't get really deep into like topics, like as deep as I want to get. Because, you know, we're just on a shorter time schedule than what we can. But just like what you did with the Yatlov Pass episode, and if people out there don't know, Dad was sitting here one night, and he was going through History Channel, and he found the History's Mysteries about the Yatlov Pass, and we didn't touch a third of what was supposed to, but we glazed over the surface for the Yatlov Pass. But because I remember that episode, and you're like, oh, why are we doing this? It doesn't, you know. And then you watch that episode, like, there's so much more shit to talk about.
You know what? And I'm going to do a Patreon episode. In fact, I'm doing one when we're done here. On that, as an addendum to that episode, because, like you said, there is always so much more that you don't think of when you're doing that episode, because again, we don't have the budget that, you know, History Channel has. We don't sit there and talk to right, you know, the experts or anything like that. The guests are coming few and far between, and that'll change as we get, you know, the more we go on. But for right now, this is the format we want. This is the format we're going to stay with, and we appreciate you guys who are coming back week after week to listen. Anyway. Getting back to the topic at hand, the Overtoun House, which is adjacent to the bridge. It's a 19th century country house, an estate in West Dunbartonshire, Scotland. It's situated on a hill overlook the River Clyde. It's 2 kilometers north of the village of Milton. The house is protected as a category. A listed building. While the grounds are included, the inventory of gardens and design landscape in Scotland. Landscapes feature include Overtoun Bridge as an approachment to the road, designed by E.L. Milner, who was a well-known architect at the time. In 1859, James White, a retired lawyer and co-owner of the J&J White Chemical Works in Rutherglen, bought the Overtoun farm, and he wanted to build a mansion there. And what he did was he knocked down the existing structure on there, hired a lawyer, hired an architect, came in, and just, he originally bought 900 acres, then he bought 2,000 acres, or he beefed it up to 2,000 acres, and he built a mansion. And like I said, if if you're out listening to this, do your homework on it. Look at this. Look at the photo of this. It's beautiful. It's actually it's just a beautiful castle. But let's see. He in 1884 he died. James White died, and his son John moved into the estate. And in 1991, after the death of his mother, John wanted the house to be expanded further, so he came to an agreement in 1892. Let's see. With the local pastor, Reverend Dixon Swan, the heir to the adjacent Gershake farmlands. Under the deal, John White was able to lay out the West Drive and its lodge. The eastern and western sides of the estate were split by a waterfall to the Overtoun burn to connect the two sides. The road was built and the Overtoun Bridge erected by Henry Milner. So that's basically the gist of the the house itself, and it was turned into a hospital for unwed mothers at one point. Let's see what else we got here. His mother was actually was what they call the Lady in White. She's the one who's seen in windows. There's a couple of photos of a woman standing in a window, looking kind of creepy and eerie.
Here's something that's interesting that I have. The Scottish Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals sent representatives to investigate the matter. And after getting on the bridge, one of them suddenly became willing to jump off the bridge. They were baffled by the cause of the strange behavior, and they immediately had to close their investigation. This is a person, not a dog.
Right.
So a person all of a sudden became willing to jump off the bridge.
That puts a hole in the theory of smelling something.
Yeah.
So we human beings don't have that keen sense of smell that dogs would have. So yeah, that kind of puts a hole in that theory right there.
Basically, it's probably the woman in white.
That's what I'm leaning to at this point. I mean, I know it's a little far-fetched. It's paranormal. But, again, you're dealing with something that's so old, and there seems to be no explanation. And when you take out all the explanations that you can't find any explanations, then you got to go to the stuff that maybe isn't the most popular answer, like the paranormal. Is she lurking around? I mean,
well, if you again that what I just read, and you compound it with the fact of the guy throwing his 2-week-old son off the bridge and then attempting suicide himself. I don't know.
That was in 94.
Yeah, and I haven't read more. I haven't read a lot of cases of people throwing themselves off the bridge.
Yeah, I haven't heard of anything.
Besides, this one. But it can turn around and add to that fact, especially if obviously the baby did not survive.
Right.
Because at that point, like I was saying before we went into break, that becomes more of I guess you would call it a sacrifice type of thing. I don't know as far as it's not obviously devil worship or anything like that because he threw his kid off thinking it was the devil, but it does go to the point of sacrifice.
Does anybody know why this woman is so angry? Apparently,
that's a good question. It doesn't really. There's
doesn't
really
get
no.
into that, does it?
There's no reports on why she doesn't like animals or why she doesn't like dogs. It just states that she was not a dog lover and she didn't, and they find that, or maybe again that's somebody's theory. Maybe that's somebody's theory of saying, you know what, she didn't like it. She didn't like dogs, so that's the answer why they're going off the bridge. It doesn't mean that she didn't like the dogs. Maybe she came back as an evil spirit or came back as something that's evil.
I really, you could turn around and say that she said, the dogs are saying, "Fuck it." I'm not. So, The lady in white, do you know her name?
I can research it for you here.
Oh, I have it right here. It's
okay.
Grace Eliza McClure.
Okay.
Grace, some have attributed the potential haunting to Grace Elijah McClure, or the lady in white. Grace was the wife of John Smith, who was responsible for the construction of the bridge. Since her husband's death in 1921, Grace is said to haunt the house, the grounds, and the bridge. So if she's haunting the bridge, it could be like what you said before, Ang, too. That she's at the bottom of the bridge, Yeah,
I mean, I can't really put my head around this, that a dog would just walk on a bridge, and just decide to jump without something. Like you said before, they can sense more than we can. Something has to be drawing these animals to jump.
Mm-hmm. Maybe
it makes no sense. Not something's there.
It could be a phantom smell too. It could be something where the ghost of this woman is, making it smell that these dogs. I mean, maybe I'm reaching for something here. I don't know, but sometimes in this paranormal, you can smell things.
Because like you said before, she didn't like dogs, or allegedly didn't like dogs, because somebody said that. We don't know really. If that's the case and she doesn't like dogs, maybe she's doing this in the afterlife.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hello, nerds. Come listen to the History Nerds United podcast, and let's make history fun again. We interview today's best authors, whether they are established Pulitzer Prize winners or someone debuting their first book. Let us show you that history is not a boring class you took in high school, but a place where the best stories come from. And we don't just cover history, we also love to chat about true crime, biographies, memoirs, and so much more. So head on over to History Nerds United and let us introduce you to your new favorite book and learn the story behind the story.
History Nerds United.
Yeah, or keeping dogs off her property.
Yeah, because she don't want.
Because remember, this
around.
this is now the Overtoun Bridge and the Overtoun House is more like a historical site now, right?
Yeah, it's registered in England.
So you're gonna sit there and you're gonna have a lot of people walking the ground and stuff like that, and that could piss the afterlife off.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Most definitely.
It's her house. She doesn't want anybody there.
Yeah. Another possible theory. This is a Celtic theory, because obviously it's in Scotland. There's got to be a lot of Celtic stuff around there. It's called a thin place. According to Celtic spirituality, thin places are physical locations where the veil between the spiritual world and our world is noticeably thinner, almost as if it's fused together. This could potentially allow for spirits or beings from the other side to pass into our world much easier than they could elsewhere. Some may consider the other side to be heaven or paradise. Others might consider the spiritual world to be hell, another dimension, or somewhere simply beyond human understanding. And what someone considers a thin place may not be considered a thin place by someone else. Whether this is based on a person's spirituality or spiritual perspective, or if some people are more spiritually sensitive at a certain location is uncertain. While some may find a location such as Glastonbury Abbey or Stonehenge to be a thin place, others might feel thin places in more ordinary locations, such as a personal walk through a park or stuff like that.
Right.
Thin places are personal experiences, making it difficult to pin down a concrete definition. But yeah, some people could explaining that this could be a thin place in the Celtic.
Yeah, there's too much leaning me towards the paranormal than there is of a scent. If that hunter and trapper didn't say what he did, I can say, you know what? Well, no one knows. But you got people that are saying they don't smell me. They haven't seen mink in the area for so long. So
we also have to, which I came across here, and thank God I did. Because in paranormal lore, there's a definition to a lady in white or a ghost in white.
Okay.
This is not your typical white lady or lady in white.
Right.
Most of the typical white ladies in white we see, lost children, lost husband, stuff like that, and lure people to kill themselves. This is obviously not it, and obviously she's doing this more towards animals and not towards people.
Right. But
So
she did lose her husband, though.
Well, but not to a tragedy though.
Right. Okay, I get you.
This is John Smith passed away. Well, it was a sudden death. So, but it doesn't say to
It wasn't tragic.
It wasn't tragic. It was a sudden death, but it wasn't tragic. To where most of the ladies in white that we've seen, like the La Yarna, was tragic, sudden, tragedies.
Right.
So that is a actual good, whatchamacallit, sorry, I forgot the word here. What is the word I'm looking for? Not comparison. What is the opposite comparison?
Conclusion?
No,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's not the same thing. Let's just put it like that. Yeah, so I mean, it's like I said, it's a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people online saying that they believe more of the paranormal aspect of this case compared to
something right you can prove out.
Yeah,
because again, you can't prove that. They, like I said, they had tests. They did tests and they did studies, and it's not proving anything.
Yeah, and like I said, if people, like, I know we have a couple downloads in Scotland. If somebody over in Scotland wants to send us, a little test or telling us an experience they had on the Overtoun Bridge. If you've ever been to the Overtoun House, again, on social media, we're always on social media. We're always on TikTok. I'm always on TikTok. We would love to hear it because obviously it's such a small case, but it's so fascinating at the same time.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing how this didn't get much more press.
Yeah,
I'm sure in Scotland it's big. I'm sure you go to Scotland. Oh yeah, I've heard that bridge. Yeah. My Malamute went for a Swanee 3 days ago. So yeah, I do. But it's not something that people are going to give a rat's ass about outside of that. And
well, because it's okay. The reason is because you're not. It's not. You're not. It's not like the Suicide Forest. You had the Suicide Forest, which we had an episode on, but we'll do over because the audio was kind of bad and it was just a really weird episode. And we like touched on it. It's like we nibbled at the fact. But the Suicide Forest is big around the world because everyone knows people go there to commit suicide. Right. Even no matter if it wasn't intentionally for that, it got in the world that people go there to intentionally commit suicide.
Correct.
And it's about people. Right. This is just about dogs. Yeah. Not a lot of people are give a shit about dogs jumping off a bridge.
Right.
Because I think that happens almost every day. Just not at one specific location.
Yeah, you got
I don't know if it happens with the same frequency as this.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's at one location.
This bridge. It's like, some other dog might jump on the top of the fucking thing and fall off to his death. Or I don't think the dog's smelling anything and saying, "Oh, today's the day." I don't know, but I think personally this has got everything to do with something paranormal here. I really do. I think this woman is tormenting these animals, and the mere fact that when they say that all of a sudden the animal just starts acting strangely, it looks like the animal's possessed. Animals that smell something aren't possessed. They smell it. They go to it, or they bark, and they run the other way. Mm-hmm. It's either or. This is basically they're taking the animal, and the animal's, something else, that the personality's changing, and then it's jumping off. And if it doesn't do it right the first time, it comes up and does it again. So something is definitely tormenting these animals. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's a smell thing. I'll
be honest, though. I agree with Unk. You said in between that you asked if one of the I know there have been ghost hunting there, but I don't think I've ever seen an episode of ghost hunters or any one of the really big, Zach.
Yeah, because there's probably no interest, like you said, outside of Scotland about this.
To me, but honestly, didn't when the ghost hunters went over to Ireland and did the one castle,
Lep Castle.
Yeah, did you ever hear of Lep Castle before that episode?
No, I did not.
Yeah, so it's like, I think it to me, it brought more interest in, because when I watched that episode, I realized that obviously that area, Ireland, Scotland, that those areas, they're really, really old. There is a lot of old places in those countries that you could just tell there's some type of ghost paranormal activity
With
happening there.
That episode you just said about the castle,
found
out that they're not leprechauns. The Irish don't call them leprechauns.
They call them elementals.
Yes, and fairies.
Right.
That's what they're called, and they're not nice. They're very mean. And if you build on their land, they will torment you.
And it's scary to me because, Scotland is an extremely old country. It's extremely old. So who knows what's been going down there for hundreds of years.
Well, that's my point, too. If you sit there and think about it, you have these really old lands. Now, granted, every land on Earth is old.
Right.
As far as over here in the U.S., in the States, we don't know. Like, we have a certain time back of, when this would be. Like, well, like anything past that, we have to sit there. Like, we don't have the history that, Ireland, Scotland, Europe has, and those areas. Correct. They have possessions from like way back then, and those people at that time, you could tell a lot of ghost stories I've heard from across the pond have to deal with these ghostly entities are angry that someone is on their land or in their house. You know what I mean? Right. That are just on their property. And at that point, I guess in the time frame that they are, you would literally fight or kill for your land, or your property, stuff like that. So they have that mindset, and I guess they brought that into the afterlife too.
Right. Yeah. It's possible. It's very possible.
So again, I mean, granted, with this lady in white, it's only 18th. She was born. I think it said 18. If I read it correctly, I think she said 1845 to 1931. Mm-hmm. So she was born in 1845, died in 1931. So she only lived 10 years past her husband.
Okay.
So if you're sitting there like it's 1931, and granted, she, it's not as far back as you think. But at that point, it's
Well, for her, it's probably it's a lifetime.
Yeah.
And she now has to go it alone. She's all alone now.
No, what I'm saying is like her mindset, and it's not not really really old like you have usually with these Scottish or Irish cases of hauntings. 1921. That's 100 years ago. It's not as far back as you think. As you we think these ghosts are coming from, like fairies or leprechauns. These things are not leprechauns, elementals. If you want to sit there and think these are ancient beings, like ancient.
Right.
Compared to this, only 100 years old. But if it's really her doing this, and I haven't done any, at least seen any research about anything prior to 1921 or 1920 about this area. I've heard anything about that. Either. It's happened since her passing. Like obviously we have the case in '94 with the guy, but this I've heard of this bridge before. Like it's one of those TikTok things. You scroll, you see something here's a mystery that you want to see. Right. One of those things, and it's the Overtoun Bridge in Scotland. Dogs jump off it. Stuff like that. Some stuff I heard on YouTube. And you just pass it on, all right, cool, go to the next. And then you don't really do more research into it because you're like, oh, it's just dogs jumping off a bridge. Mm-hmm. And then you don't realize how many dogs are jumping off a bridge.
Yeah, I mean, until you really sit down and analyze it, it's just another story. It's just dogs. It's just dogs going off the bridge, whatever. Until you sit there and go, why are they going off the bridge? What's making? And then you couple the fact with this could be paranormal, and with the haunting of the house and the haunting of the grounds. That's when it becomes a story. Because as I'm sitting here now, going through it, I mean, I've heard of this bridge, forever, but I never sat down and did it because it didn't mean anything to me. It didn't mean it's just dogs. You know what I mean? It's something. They'll figure it out.
If it was humans.
Right, maybe it would
get a lot more attention, probably.
Now, if you could say, like, yeah, you're absolutely right. If, say now this was like the dam, the Colorado Dam, and people and humans were just driving across the bridge and jumping the fuck off. Well, then you got to say, okay, we have people that are killing themselves for what reason, and you need to examine it. But again, I don't want to say, well, dogs don't mean anything, but in the grand scheme of things, it's really not.
It's a human life,
right?
yeah.
It's not high.
I mean, granted, PETA, I don't want to get shut down, but
Well, we're not getting shut. We're not saying dogs should die. I mean, believe me, I got my own. We've had nothing but dogs in this house.
Yeah, we're dog people.
We're dog people. So, and I don't want to piss off the cat people because my daughter has a cat, and my son has 2 cats, and we had cats too, but.
Yes, Bubba, we don't want to piss you off too because I know you got your cat.
Yes, my cat.
And we don't want to piss Bubba off because Bubba eats cats.
I just want to say
Bubba eats
something.
dogs.
No, man, that's the Vietnamese, but that's a whole nother thing.
Oh no.
What?
Go on.
You see, you got future shows down the road. You should do a show on the Alaskan Triangle.
We should just do one big show on just triangles.
It seemed to be everywhere. It's like,
the Alaskan Triangle has the most sightings of Bigfoot. The most people disappear within this triangle. The 3 towns they make up the triangle.
No, we'll take a look into it.
It's really it's fascinating. You got to check it out. I mean, these planes just disappear, and there's no wreckage, nothing.
All right.
It's pretty
well,
cool.
I do want to.
That sounds like a Patreon episode.
Yeah, I do want to sit there and do a little preview on next week's episode, but I'll get to that after we'll go through our little questions. So, Dad, I'll start off with you. Do you believe that the Overtoun Bridge, or the suicide bridge, the dog suicide bridge, do you believe it is paranormal?
I believe it's absolutely paranormal, and just the mere fact that the woman is still there and she's haunting the house and she's haunting the woods, and the animals seem to be mesmerized before they jump off the bridge. Yeah, I do believe she's calling them to their death, or she's enjoying this for whatever reason, and who knows?
Demented bitch.
Well, I don't know, but I do believe there is something, some paranormal force. Now, maybe it isn't her, maybe it's an elemental at that point. I don't know, but there is something, in my opinion, that's driving them off the bridge. You can't prove it, but then again, you can't prove the paranormal to begin with. It's all
well, you can. It's just all matter if people believe it or not.
Right. So that's the thing. I mean, I guess the only way to do it is to get your pooch, strap them up, and walk across the bridge and see what happens.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's the way it looks. That's the way it is. And if anybody out there in Scotland, the lovely people in Scotland, if you have any,
if anybody in general has
been on that bridge, please, by
obviously
all means,
the people in Scotland because they're there.
Get back to us. So that's my opinion.
Unc, what do you feel? What is your opinion? You believe it's paranormal?
Yeah, I do, because the smell issue. I don't know. Because the lady in white, she used to live there or whatever. Apparently, she doesn't like dogs, whatever. But I think it's paranormal.
All right. I'm in the same boat. I think it's across the board here. I do believe it's paranormal also. There's just too many things that point towards being paranormal compared to... Because, honestly, I have not... In my research, I have not seen people saying that there's mink in the area or anything like that. They have not had any reports of those animals. Even the hunter said that there was no reports of that animal in the area. So how could you have mink piss if there's no fucking minks?
Yeah.
So I do believe that this is a paranormal thing, and I do believe that this lady in white, she just doesn't like animals.
Yeah.
Or dogs in particular. She may be a cat person. That's what it is.
All right, so let's go to some cats and cross the bridge and see what happens.
If no cats go insane and jump off.
It did say that earlier. There was no cats.
No cats?
Felines had no, they didn't, and you would think felines would be different because when felines smell that catnip, they go ape shit.
Oh, it's catnip. It's like, what catnip is to a cat? It's like weed to us. That's
Next time
what
I
it is.
roll into a cat, he's smoking the fucking thing of catnip.
Ask Anthony. Anthony has fed his cat catnip.
I don't want it. No, I don't want to know. No offense, but I don't want to know.
So next week's episode, gentlemen, I don't know who's going to be in the booth. I know, Dad, you and I will be in the booth for that, and I don't know who else will be in the booth. I think, and I'll say it here, I think we might have Mr. West back in the booth next week. I'm not too sure just yet.
Right.
But there may be a Mr. West sighting. We'll see.
We'll see what happens.
But next week's episode is the Tunguska event. Now, before I read into it, has anybody heard of the Tunguska event?
No.
No.
So we venture back into into Siberia, Russia.
Oh, I love that.
So the Tunguska event was an explosion that occurred near the pod. I'm going to completely fuck this up. I'm just going to say the Tunguska River in Siberia. On June 30th, 1908, the explosion destroyed an estimated 770 square miles of forest covered in sparsely populated East Siberian Taiga region. However, no human casualties were reported. And nobody can figure out why.
It was a meteor.
They don't have proof of that. Nobody can figure out why almost 800 square miles of dense forest blew up.
That's going to be fun to get into.
But we will get into that next week. I just want to say thank you for joining our podcast this week.
Thank you
for filling in.
I appreciate it.
And we will see you next weekend for the Tunguska event.
Before you sign off there, we have a little podcast, the beginning of a podcast coming next week. We're hitting a booth next week, and I believe the tentative title is, and I know when I'm going to talk to Cito about it, but I'm going to name the podcast right now. Here's the thing with Cito, and Cito, as you know, is our fifth member of the.
We have so many members at this point, so it's another member.
Cito came in as a fan, Block's cousin, and he really. He jumped right in, and he's every bit a member of the family as everybody else. And big shout out to Cito. He's been doing his homework. He's been producing his show now for a while. It's his baby, and he's gonna be an interview show. He's gonna interview current topics and stuff that's on his mind. Mm-hmm. And I think he's gonna do great. The first guest is gonna be me. I'm gonna be in the booth with him next week, and he wants to interview me for whatever reason, and that'll be good. I'm looking forward to sitting down with him one-on-one. He's a very engaging young man, and
we have a lot of things coming up, and I guess I'll give you a little preview of that. I know myself and Anthony have come together. We're going to start our own wrestling podcast. Mm-hmm. It's going to be called 1, 2, 3. And we're going to probably start the episode this week. We want to get the first episode out before WrestleMania. It's going to be the WrestleMania preview episode. Mm-hmm. So if you're into wrestling, come shoot over. We'll send the links over in our social media. We will update the website. We promise you on that. And we have some interesting, TV shows. Not TV shows, more shorts coming out during
during
the summer.
Right, we're going to be traveling down to the Spy House down in New Jersey, and it's supposed to be the most haunted place in New Jersey or in the world, in America for that matter. But we're going to find out how haunted. It's beautiful, beautiful building. It's right down there in Monmouth County. It's part of the Monmouth County Park System. It sits right on the ocean. And it's gonna be an interesting day. We're gonna film it. We're gonna,
Well, just a little preview for our people out there. Also, we are halfway through this season for Is This Real? We're halfway through. We have 9 episodes left this season, and then we already
seasons go fast, man.
It does. We already came up with our topic for next season, but you'll just have to keep listening, and we're gonna tell you towards the end of this season on the final episode, season finale. We will reveal what our next season is going to be. It's going to be really good. Yeah. All I'm going to say is if you like season 4, you're going to like season 6.
Yeah, and then I'm doing my little side project too. It's also going through the Green Arrow Media. It's called Music Through the Ages, and music through time. And it's we're going to have music. We're going to have talk. We're going to have different things. I'm going to do an hourly show, when I can. And I'm not going to sit there and say it's going to be every week, but I'm hoping to do it at least once a week at different themes, live albums one week, doo-wop one week, heavy metal one week, soul. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be factual, and
our audience have not heard we've heard your political conspiracy theory side. Our audience has not heard your music sense yet, Dad.
It's different. It's gonna be different. I'm not gonna link the two together. We have plenty of podcasts on our network for that, but this one will be a little different because we can add some music to it and just come by and relax. It's gonna be interesting.
All right.
So,
Unc, do you have anything to preview?
I was gonna come up with a show called NASCAR with Bubba, but that's maybe somewhere down the line.
All right, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Anything else?
No.
Dad?
I have nothing else for this week except for everybody around the world that's listening to us, please stay healthy, stay happy, and remember to just look at life like today could be your last day, and enjoy it. So, big shout out to the people in Ukraine. Keep going.
Yeah.
We love you guys. We're behind you 100%. Maybe things will calm down by the time we see each other again. I hope. But if not, just remember to stay strong, people, and stay healthy. And God bless.
All right. And we'll see you guys next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Konnichiwa, bitches. It's Ryu West speaking. If you want to find out more about the Is This Real podcast, follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/isthisrealpc or on Twitter at isthisrealpc or on Instagram at isthisrealpodcast, all one word.